Welcome to Super Tuesday, presented by Progressive. Rocky Top is ready to explode as they welcome Kentucky into town. Bitter rivalry, these two teams, and Tennessee has had the ability to beat Kentucky in each of the last 6 years. This year, Kentucky tried to sweep, especially in light of what they did in that first game. Jimmy Dykes joins me, Carl Ravage. They destroyed Tennessee.
They did. Kentucky was so good offensively, and Tennessee's defense just did not travel into Rupp Arena, and Kentucky punished them and made them pay. And this is a heated rivalry. Rick Barnes has had some success against John Calipari. Will he get another chance tonight at it?
Yeah, Jimmy, he's 8-7 all time as a coach here at Tennessee against Kentucky. It was one of the great shooting performances ever under Calipari and one of the worst experiences for Barnes. So what has to change tonight in order for Tennessee to turn the table?
Ravi, they can't turn the ball over. If you're Tennessee and you have live ball turnovers, especially the top of the key, the middle part of the floor, that Kentucky run game, which is the best in college basketball, just ignites this entire building. And this is a Kentucky team that's built to go the distance. Their speed is unusual in conversion offense. You must keep them out of it if you're Tennessee.
Marty Smith is here as well. We'll hear from Marty in just a little bit as we get set for the opening tip. Kentucky comes in 21-4, 10-2, a game behind Auburn in the SEC. Tennessee 18-6, 9-3 in conference as we are set for the tip of our Sonic blockbuster matchup. Doug Shows will throw the ball up. He's joined by Patrick Evans and Michael Roberts in an environment that is electric, and they were lined up outside since about 5 p.m. for this 9 o'clock tip. And already contact and controlled by Kentucky. Our starting lineup is brought to you by Degree, and yes, Ty Washington is in the starting lineup. Last game we saw him, he got his leg rolled up on. He's got a black sleeve on that leg, but he practiced all morning as Oscar Tshiebwe gets things going, and Kentucky out to a 2-0 lead.
Just goes right at the 7-footer Tshiebwe does. Ratty, he is so quick, not only with his feet finding the ball as a rebounder, but his shoulders are extraordinarily fast as a scorer.
Jacob Toppin is also available for Kentucky. They are at full strength, and when they've been at full strength, they've been nearly unbeatable. They got 10 on the shot clock as Josiah Jordan-James. Tough shot gets it to go right over Kellen Grady.
Both teams will take their fair share of mid-range tough twos.
Both teams will push. Rick Barnes, Jimmy asked him earlier, are you thinking about slowing it down? Are you kidding me? We're running with these guys. We want to run. Wheeler got banged, and they're going to call Uros Plavcic. Banged into Wheeler. One of the things to look for, it feels like Rick Barnes is going to use a lot of his depth when it comes to height, so there's 15 to 20 fouls they got a chance to
Well,
give.
there are, and Rick Barnes is going to rotate those guys in on Tshiebwe. What you don't want to do, though, is pick up a foul 25 feet from the basket. Use those on 34 in blue, not a guard.
Tshiebwe, player of the year in college basketball, averaging 15 rebounds a game and 15 points a game. Washington's first three, he had 28 in the opener against Tennessee, and that one goes out of bounds off Vescovy, and that'll be Kentucky basketball.
Washington only shooting, Ravi, 31% from the three-point line in conference play. So if you're Tennessee, I don't think you have to overreact to his three ball early, because this kid is terrific off the bounce to the mid-range game.
Wheeler, that one goes. Made a couple of shots in his last game after having an 0 for 19 skid. And he knocks down his first one.
Really good find of the paint, though, by Ty to start the game for Kentucky.
Plavcic keeps it alive, but right in the hands of Brooks. Ty Washington down on the floor on the other end. And Tshiebwe picks up the miss, and he flushes.
If you're not going to run with Tshiebwe and fight him and battle him body for body, he's one of those kind of guys that can go for 25 and 20 boards.
Huntley Hatfield took the last three and missed it as Vescovy will kick to Plavcic, and John Fulkerson gets set to come in. Uros, the 7-footer, working on Tshiebwe, and look who comes down with it, Oscar Tshiebwe. Just has a knack for finding that basketball. Wheeler spins, and Sahvir Wheeler has 4 early points.
Tennessee could not control Sahvir Wheeler in the first matchup. And this guy's got the spin ability, the quickness, and the speed to go downhill.
Chandler knocks down a three, and a good start for him. He needs that. Henry Chandler, one of the top freshmen in the nation.
It feels like a game Tennessee needs to make a minimum of 9 to 10 three-point shots.
Kellen Grady, 31 in blue. Kentucky sharpshooter hasn't taken a shot yet as Tshiebwe pulls up from the foul line, extended and knocks that down. Oscar Tshiebwe with 6 early points.
Now confident with Tshiebwe on a short roll into a pull-up 17-foot. That was pro stuff by 34 in blue.
He didn't think much about it, just threw it up. 3 substitutes getting set to come in for Rick Barnes, including Zakai Ziegler. Vescovy wide open. He won't miss many of those. The lefty from Uruguay knocks that down.
And Tennessee really good, man, at attacking those elbows. Off of drives, off of passes.
Tshiebwe short. Kentucky 5 of 8 to start the game. Tennessee 3 of 5. Josiah Jordan-James 1 of 7 in his last game, but the 3 prior games he'd been very good. And there he muscles through Wheeler and can't get it to go, and that is going to be a foul on Oscar Tshiebwe.
Well, Oscar Tshiebwe is as fast or faster than any post player in the country.
John Calipari's losing it on the sideline. He went right at one of the officials and got a technical foul.
Rabbit, he was not pleased at all with a foul on Oscar Tshiebwe. He understands the importance of 34 in blue. And Cal will be the first to tell you, Tshiebwe gets a lot of contact laid on him over a 40-minute ball game. And you certainly don't want touch fouls to be called early, but John Calipari right here gets out of the box. A little bit of a warning, and then the stick.
Michael Roberts, Patrick Evans, with the crew chief Doug Schaus. Meantime, Uroš Plavšić is heading to the locker room. He's grabbing at his left side. Rick Barnes and John Calipari go back a long way, and there's a great deal of respect between the two coaches.
Rabbi, I didn't see what happened to Plavšić, but that's a potential big hit to Tennessee because he's one of those 7'1", 280-pound guys that you have to have to fight and battle Tshiebwe for the 36 minutes that he plays.
Vescovy knocks down the free throw. Same way game 1 played out. A lot of people looked at the blowout. Both teams' offenses clicked. Reese, thank you very much. Here, Kentucky 10, Tennessee 9. High voltage atmosphere. John Calipari just received a technical foul after his big man Oscar Tshiebwe was called for a foul. He didn't like that. Both teams have been very good offensively so far. Tshiebwe has got 6 points. Sahvir Wheeler 4 points. Balance scoring on the other side, led by Santiago Vescovy. Rematch of a game that Kentucky won earlier, 107-79. Jimmy Dykes, Marty Smith alongside. That's a 3 from Josiah Jordan-James. No good, and Tshiebwe picks up another rebound in traffic. That's his 3rd.
Ravi, it's another game in the SEC. You can just feel the intensity in the building. These two rivals going at one another.
Wheeler threw it up. 34 in blue came down with it, threw it back up. And that time he couldn't get a rebound. He's got 19 double-doubles on the year. Oh, good ball fake by Vescovy in the bounce pass, and that is a good play. Santiago Vescovy to Jonas Aidoo.
Ravi, you called it. You cannot take the shot fake, the ball fake from Santi Vescovy.
Tennessee leads for the first time, 11-10.
And he's as good as anybody in the country with those shot fakes, 25 in white.
Jonas Aidoo 0 in white. Good shot blocker and getting more minutes. The injury to Olivier Nkamhoua has given Huntley Hatfield more time, and now Jonas Aidoo. The place is ready, and so are we. A sonic blockbuster just underway. Falls by 1.
This team is built to go the distance. Kentucky is legit. And good luck trying to stop a match. truck in the middle of the lane.
My goodness, what a performance by Kennedy Chandler.
And Brooks with a slam. Kentucky thinking about a national championship. They're trying to get through Tennessee here. They beat them badly in their first meeting, 107-79. As you're watching ESPN Sonic Blockbuster, it's 11-10. And it just feels, obviously, because we're here, it's going to be a very different game than that first game. What beyond this crowd is going to make it different?
Well, first of all, Tennessee can't turn the ball over. Kentucky got 31 points, Ravi, in that first matchup off of Tennessee turnovers. Tennessee hasn't turned it over yet. But then the concern is, can you match up with Oscar Tshiebwe? This is the National Player of the Year. He already has 6 and 6 in this ball game. You have to fight Tshiebwe for the entire 35 minutes that he's on the floor. If you don't fight him, he's going to go for 25 and 20. If you do fight him, he'll still get his 15 and 15. But you have to bring the wood tonight if you're Tennessee and understand you got thumped by 28 at Rupp.
Yeah, you did. And some of the other numbers from that game, you see Ty Washington had a big game. He is in the starting lineup and on the floor tonight. Number 3 had his leg rolled up in that Florida game, and it was very scary. And there he steps right into a 3. Coming off that 28-point game against Tennessee. Zakai Zeigler back the other way, challenges Tshiebwe, and that is what Zakai Zeigler will do, go right at you.
The two guys that fight harder than anybody else in this league are in this game. Oscar Tshiebwe from Kentucky and Zakai Zeigler from Tennessee. Their fight factor is off the charts.
Tshiebwe's got 1 foul already. That got John Calipari off the bench and earned him a technical. Jacob Toppin, the other guy that was injured for Kentucky, available, and he knocks down his first shot.
Kentucky has a top 5 offense, and they take a ton of non-rim twos. Very good in that 12 to 16-foot mark.
Not a lot of teams do that. Kentucky does. It's 6-3 as far as rebounds go, and the reason I say that so early, the last 5 meetings, the team that won the rebound battle won the game. Another attack of Tshiebwe, and with 1 foul, perhaps Britt Barnes should take it at that guy.
When you give Fulkerson room, that's when he's at his best.
Well, Toppin challenged Fulkerson. He got the foul and the basket.
What I mean by that, Ravi, you're guarding Fulkerson. If you back off of him and let him operate in space, look at Tshiebwe backed off, boom. Now the game is in Fulkerson's hands. He is so good against drop coverage or coverage that's not in his airspace.
Having a flashback to square him up. Tshiebwe turned his hips.
He did.
Fulkerson was gone. Great sign. Jacob Toppin back. He missed the free throw, and the loose ball goes to Zeigler. When the Wildcats have been healthy this year, they've been unbeatable. Zeigler, 3, too strong. Rebound, Fulkerson in the corner. Fires it off of Ware, who's into the game. Fulkerson goes into the Kentucky bench. He's a little pushing here from the end of the bench. And again, now both teams get into a bit of a scrum. Fulkerson stumbled into the Kentucky bench and seemed to take offense as to the way he was handled over there. Well, this game has been chippy from Jump Street. Already a technical foul, and now pushing and shoving in the corner by the Kentucky bench.
Fulkerson just gets tripped up, and then
It looked like one of the Kentucky guys was trying to help him up. I don't know if there was anything that was said, but from that replay, it appeared as if he was attempting to help Fulkerson, and clearly he didn't feel that was the case.
now the end of the bench for Kentucky, something was said, something was done, because Fulkerson, to me, looked like he was trying to get back up and get on the floor. Remember this, no program has logged more wins versus Kentucky than Tennessee with their 75. And Fulkerson gets tripped up and goes down. And the crowd comes around, and
May have started with Zakai Zeigler pushing one of the bench personnel for Kentucky. See, they were trying to help Fulkerson up, but it was the guys around him that were involved in what became a pushing and shoving match. And now, of course, the officials, Doug Shouse, will take a look at it. You see it that way, though? Somebody was helping Fulkerson up, but it was the guys around Fulkerson that started pushing and shoving each other.
Well, the end of the Kentucky bench, Ravi, to your point, it was bench personnel. It wasn't players, I don't think, that kind of stood up and got in the way of Tennessee coming over to help Fulkerson, and then just kind of escalated from there. And you could just feel the intensity in this building an hour before tip.
You mentioned it. This is the oldest and most often played SEC game. It dates back to 1910. There have been 233 games between the two schools, and while Kentucky has dominated, you mentioned that Tennessee's got 75 wins against Kentucky, which is the most against any opponent.
And Ravi, from a coaching standpoint, if you're Tennessee, you watch the first game multiple times.
Yep.
And you probably get a little angry every time you watch it because of how you played and how you got pumped at Rupp Arena. You go back and watch the game, and Kentucky didn't have a lot of depth that day, however you want to spin it, but those starters were in and knocking down points with 2 minutes to go in the ball game. The thing was at a 30-point game. Anything from a head coach you can just kind of grab onto and say, this is going to help motivate us, maybe you do. This game will be off the charts in the fight in the intensity department because of what Kentucky did to a really good defensive ball club the last time they met.
They didn't have a lot of that fight. Wheeler had 21 in that game. Washington had 28. Kentucky shot 68% from the floor in the game and almost 80% in the first half. Rick Barnes has had great success against Kentucky, 8-7 all-time as the coach here at Tennessee. And he's got one win in each of the last 6 years. So Kentucky trying to sweep the season series every year in the last 6. Tennessee's beaten Kentucky at least once.
Ravi, it looks like we're going to have double technical fouls are going to offset. Doug Show's making the signal to the benches.
Guys, I'm standing in Tennessee's huddle watching Coach Barnes and his staff try to figure out what the referees are doing here, how they're going to sort this out. And Coach Barnes just looked at his entire unit and said, fellas, this thing's going to be intense. It's been that way since we got here. Just shut up and play basketball. We got a real shot here tonight.
You see Zakai Ziegler over the left shoulder of Rick Barnes. Jimmy, to your point about that loss and being reminded of it, Ziegler said after that loss to Kentucky, it was the worst feeling I've ever had in basketball. Ziegler brings a whole bunch of attitude with him. As Jimmy said, the two guys that fight harder than any others in the SEC are Ziegler, who received one of the technical fouls, and then apparently the other technical was Rob Harris on the Kentucky bench. So Ziegler a technical for Tennessee, and one of the bench personnel for Kentucky a technical foul. But that stays with you. When you describe that loss as the worst feeling you've had in your basketball career, you remember it, and Ziegler already plays with a huge chip on his shoulder.
Well, then you have to do something about it. You draw a line and say never again. It's one thing to lose a ball game. It's another thing to go back and watch the film and realize we got out-fought and we got our tails whipped as a defensive unit.
That's where into the game, 55 and blue, so's Davion Mintz as Shibwe takes a break. So does Washington. Switching defense here, Mintz on Chandler, contact, throws it up and in off the window. And that came at the end of the shot clock. Good play by Chandler to absorb the bump.
Really tough shot by Chandler. He won the spot on the floor, which is the elbow, which set him up to win in front of the rim.
Rios had a good game so far offensively, 4 points. Mintz a good three-point shooter. Ware with 10. Into the lane, up, no good. And a rebound on a freshman, Jonas Adu.
Ware has been so good off that Kentucky bench, Ravi, averaging 12 and 11 per 40 minutes. Really producing as that backup five.
Fulkerson spins, throws it up, no good, in and out.
I'm telling you, it's dangerous to allow Fulke to have some speed coming at you in space.
Grady hasn't taken a three yet. Wheeler pulls up, no good. Xavier Wheeler's numbers as a shooter have not been good. Wide open Chandler, three ball. Tennessee 20, Kentucky 17. Talk about a guy that plays with all sorts of energy. Chandler is one of those. You watched their last game, and for about 38 minutes, he was quiet, and all of a sudden, he lit him up.
Well, he's got another gear that's hard to find in all of college ball, talking about Chandler. Now the problem is, can he stay in front of Wheeler this game, because he could not in the first matchup.
Mintz throws it up. Nobody there to get a rebound. A really good box out. And when Tshiebwe's on the floor, it's a little different too. They played 25 games. He's been their top rebounder in about 24 of them. And Chandler buries another three. Largest lead of the night for the Volunteers. And a 2-minute and 20-second scoring drought for Kentucky. Mintz three. Too strong, and that will bring the crowd to its feet. And take us to a break, and they go to break on an 8-0 run.
Ravi, Rocky Top on a roll right now. And that Tennessee offense has been electric, starting with Kennedy Chandler. Again, a hard drive, expect contact, don't expect the whistle to be called, not in this game. And Chandler with that wing high slot three in transition. And once again, you let him get a clean look, a dribble up three, all the momentum, Rocky Top early.
Chandler's about 106. He's buried 3 threes. He's got 11 points. Not a terrific three-point shooter, about 31%, and he'd been 6 for his last 26.
Well, no one has improved more as a player than Kennedy Chandler from a month ago in Rupp Arena to where they are now. His voice has grown, his game has grown, and defensively, he's starting to hold his own.
Justin Powell into the game, Marty.
As you guys can see, Kentucky with a little backcourt pressure there on Tennessee. That is what Coach Barnes told the Volunteers in the huddle just now. Be ready for the press. Josiah Jordan-James looked at John Fulkerson, who just scored, and said, Fulky, you are moving so great without the ball. Continue to move. The coaches implored the other players, when we go to the basket, make sure you're spotted up, stay connected defensively. Do not stop the effort. We win this game with effort.
Washington pulls up, foul called on the floor. They're going to get Josiah Jordan-James with a body.
The match that Rick Barnes loves so far is John Fulkerson being guarded by Tshiebwe. Keeping Fulky in the middle part of the floor, and now the speed and the quickness and the blow-by ability of Fulky versus Oscar is a real concern, has to be for John Calipari. Fulkerson is at his best playing in space. He's not a body blow player. He's a speed player at the 5 spot.
Washington takes 2 free throws. First one in and out. Tshiebwe back into the game. Kentucky's got to get Kellen Grady a shot too, Jimmy. He hasn't attempted one.
Well, Tennessee has done a good job, Ravi, to your point. When they do switch on Grady, they're switching out high and fast. You cannot allow Grady to have airspace on any touch.
So a smaller lineup with Ziegler, Chandler, and Powell on the floor for Tennessee. Powell's a good shooter, and many of his three-point shots come without dribbling. He'll catch and shoot.
That 3-guard lineup has been so good to Rick Barnes, whether it's Muscovy or Powell now in there with the 2 freshmen.
Chandler, no! Wow, that was like being at a carnival watching one of those balls go in and out of the milk jug. Mintz dribbled himself into a near turnover. Washington's on the floor. So is Ziegler, and here comes James. No timeout call. That's what Calipari wanted. And Zakai Ziegler is in his element.
Zakai Ziegler is the Grant Williams of this program right now. His fight, his toughness, his confidence is unmatched.
Washington ran out of room and a turnover. And this is the polar opposite of the first meeting. Kentucky with the turnovers. And Tennessee on fire from the floor. And that ball is moving tonight. Another three. James knocks it down. A 15-1 run for the Volunteers. We'll take a timeout. Tennessee is shooting 63%.
What drives these two teams is 2 guys with big tickers, Oscar Tshiebwe and Zakai Ziegler. Man, they fight with everything they have at their core, Ravi. That's what they are. It comes in different sizes. One guy's 6'9", 255, and Ziegler the smallest guy on the floor. But it's these type of plays right here. Just the fight and the willingness to stick your nose down there and come up with a loose ball has really turned this Tennessee program this year into a hard out, and it's led by number 5, Zakai Ziegler.
Last guy to sign, too. I mean, he came real late to the program and has made a huge impact. Where will Kentucky get the points, and how will they slow down what's a red-hot Volunteer team? Brooks, no good. That's short. And Tennessee now runs it out. Ziegler, the bounce pass. Chandler, a reverse layup. Kennedy Chandler with 13. And Ziegler pushed it.
The speed of Tennessee has caught Kentucky off guard in terms of how fast you have to run with your own transition defense.
5 minutes plus without a field goal for Kentucky. So they try to get it deep to Shibwe, and boy, that call came quickly. Plavsic and Josiah Jordan-James were both there.
Tennessee Ravi playing with 2 extremely fast freshman point guards, and they get out and run in front of each other. The ability of Chandler to make hard layups is really understated. And this kid can make him opposite foot, opposite hand, either side. He's really good percentage-wise on both sides of the rim.
Kennedy Chandler is among the most heralded recruits on Rocky Top ever. He told me it was an adjustment to get to the college game and become accustomed to the speed and physicality of the college game. In high school, he told me there's a couple college guys out there, but out here, everybody's good. And Josiah Jordan-James told me Rick Barnes demands so much from the point guard position.
Yeah.
You have to be that coach on the court, and Chandler's done an outstanding job. James told me his leadership has grown tremendously throughout this year, Jimmy.
Well, Marty, to your point, Kentucky lacked toughness last year, and Shibwe has corrected that for the Wildcats. And Tennessee was not as tough as Rick Barnes wanted a year ago either. And Zakai Ziegler has checked that box this year.
But remember, I mean, during the Schofield and Grant Williams run, Jordan Bone would get worn out. I mean, Barnes acknowledged he would just be on him. They developed a terrific relationship, and Bone became a tremendous point guard. He does really put it on his point guards to lead this team. He's got 2 good ones on the floor right now, and they're working together. 7 on the shot clock for Ziegler. Plavsic has it too far out with the time on the clock. A ball on the floor, and that's going to be a turnover and a shot clock violation. They call, shot clock violation.
Plavsic had a cutter just about a half step too late to deliver the pass. Ravi, nothing is more efficient in college basketball than layups off of cuts. It's about 1.25 points per play. Both these teams are really good at cutting for layups.
Wheeler rarely goes to his right, and he's forced that way now by Huntley Hatfield. So all of a sudden, Tennessee's gone a lot bigger with Huntley Hatfield and Plavsic. Keon Brooks, no good. Tennessee gets the board, and it's Vescovi. Here's the cut. Ziegler, high arcing 3, way off to the right. Ziegler may have been caught by surprise. Plavsic was so deep. Brooks will get fouled. Plavsic put his arm up. Doug Shows appeared to be looking at Huntley Hatfield, but no, it's going to be on Uroš Plavsic. He's got 2, so does Josiah Jordan-James. 12-point game. Kevin, thanks very much. Fonz, look forward to the halftime. Texas got another rematch with Texas Tech coming up shortly. In this game, just a tale of 2 different games. Not only different fan bases, but look what happened in that first meeting. The point differential in the end was 28. Tonight they're a plus 12. The field goal defense, Kentucky shot 68 to shoot 42. The turnovers were a huge deal. Right now it's 3-2. And the fast break differential all night, that's what Kentucky did. And tonight, Tennessee's winning that battle.
I mean, the turnovers are huge. Kentucky with 31 points off of turnovers in the first matchup. That's their first point off the turnover in this ball game with Brooks getting out and running. And if you're Tennessee and you play a clean game, 10 turnovers or less, you win. Bingo.
Yep.
John Calipari telling his team they have to do a better job in transition, D. He said, usually we're the track team. Tonight it's them. We have to get out and run more. But when we're in the half court, make sure big men to get post position in the paint. And if you don't have anything, look to kick it out for three.
Xavier Wheeler picked up that foul, kind of running alongside Zakai Ziegler.
Ravi, I'm telling you, when you lose to 28 to your rival, and you have 4 weeks to think about it and let it simmer in your gut. You watch that film of Kentucky knocking down shots and extending that lead with a couple of minutes to go. You can't wait to get another shot, and so far Tennessee's taken advantage of it.
I asked Ziegler, was it your friends? Was it your family? Who reached out to you? What made it feel so bad? He said, oh, no. That was all on me. I know what bad feels like, and that was the worst he'd ever felt. Block there on Ty. You do wonder about Washington's health and his explosiveness coming off that leg injury when he stumbled off that court, and Vescovi's wide open, and he missed the layup.
And the ones you got to make because Kentucky got confused in their switch. 2 guys went to the ball, and Vescovi wide open at the rim.
Wheeler turnover. He's
can't miss 2 in a row, can you?
You wouldn't think. Almost. Almost. And Wheeler ended up with the camera folks down underneath the basket. You wonder about Washington's health, where he's at?
Yeah, absolutely. To your point, the explosiveness, because that's what he is, man. He's a big-time 6'3" explosive guard that lives in the mid-range. From 15 feet and in, he's as good as anybody in this league.
That's a great bounce pass from Brooks. Shibwe missed it, and then he picked up his second foul. And this place loved that, so he's got to go to the bench. And that was a frustration foul for Oscar Shibwe. When he walked off the floor after getting rolled up on the Florida game, it felt like we may not see Washington again.
Yeah, just his facial expression and how quickly he got up and, one-legged his way into the back hallways of Rupp Arena. Young kids sometimes, Ravi, when they haven't been hurt a lot in their life and they're not for sure, you can actually get afraid and scared. And it's so good to see Ty on the floor at shoot-around today and in that starting lineup. If healthy, this team is absolutely good enough to win the national championship.
And one of the stories in this game so far, with 5:40 to go, Kellen Grady hasn't taken a shot yet for Kentucky. So whatever Tennessee's doing, it is terrific defense against Kellen Grady.
Well, they continue to chase him, and if they do switch, again, they're switching out hot and high, not letting him get looks.
Vescovi wide open. He buries a 3.
You cannot get screened against Tennessee. Because if you get screened, they are so good with perfect passing on purpose, on point. Bam, nothing but the bottom.
15-point lead, largest of the night. They are 5 of 10 from three-point land, and Grady stepped out of bounds, so that shot will not count.
Tennessee has about a 5-minute period every day they call perfect passing. That ball's got to zip, it's got to stay hot. Perfect passing, boom, deliver it right where the shooter wants it. Vescovi gets behind the ball's in front of him. Perfect rhythm for 25 in white.
3-point field goals made last season and this season. Vescovi, Chandler, Ziegler, Powell. Fulkerson, that ball deflected away, and here comes Kentucky. Mintz gets it back to Wheeler. That shot was going to be blocked by Chandler if he didn't.
Well, really good recovery defense by Tennessee because they were in a bind.
Deion Brooks stops, has it blocked, and they get a foul. Fulkerson is pointing to his teammate, so it's on him. But I believe they got it on 10, Fulkerson. Yeah, they did. Foul on Fulkerson, so he picks up his second. Mentioned Texas. Seth talked about their identity now. Well, they'll have a rematch with Texas Tech. This time it'll be on the Longhorns' home floor. Saturday, 12:30 Eastern Time. Be able to see that on ABC and the ESPN app. Our coverage starts 12:30 Eastern Time. Talk about intensity. How about that building in Lubbock when Chris Beard came back? My goodness.
It was as good as I've seen in college basketball in the last 20 years. And as good as Texas Tech is defensively, they could get to the Final Four. I don't think they can win a national championship. Right now, Ravi, their offense is about 55 to 60 in the KenPom rankings. That number has to come down, but they could certainly get there and kind of be like a Houston was last year.
Kentucky is #1 in rebound margin this season, and tonight they have 12, and so does Tennessee.
Grady now chasing Vescovi. Again, Grady's guarding himself in this game. Shooters guarding shooters.
Chandler, that was contested, and he had a tough guy Toppin in front of him. Here's Grady again. That's no good. And there's a good defensive rebound. Kentucky hasn't made a field goal. They've had 2 droughts, 9-30. Free throws, but no field goals.
Tennessee gets the ball to the third side of the floor. They make points.
Ziegler, that's contact, yeah. And then it's Ware that came over to block the shot. But Zakai Ziegler creating contact and now creating scoring opportunities. He'll go to the free throw line, a 13-point lead. Davion Mintz, his first foul. The SEC on ESPN.
Oh, when you lose by 28 as a head coach, and those things burn in your gut, and you make corrections quickly, Rick Barnes has with his guys.
Take a look at the Sonic blockbuster. Kentucky's a game behind Auburn in the SEC standings. Now, obviously, they're losing by 13 tonight. And you look at Auburn's schedule, Vanderbilt, Florida, Mississippi. They do have to come here. Bruce Pearl returns to Tennessee Saturday, February 26th. That'll be an ESPN game. Then they get Mississippi State and South Carolina. It may not be within the cards to catch Auburn.
You guys have noted all night long the impact of that blowout back in Lexington last month. It was dramatic for the Tennessee Volunteers. Josiah Jordan-James told me that defensive effort that night was disheartening. He said Kentucky got what they wanted, where they wanted, when they wanted, inside and out. And we drew a line in the sand that night and said that will never happen again, and it hasn't. And Kennedy Chandler added, he said, look, we took that game personally. We've been thinking about that game since the moment it happened. It proved we had to get better, and we have.
Sometimes you got to take a step back, right?
You know what? If adversity breaks your team apart, you got a bunch of selfish dudes. And Kentucky or Tennessee, neither one of them are a selfish team at all. So you learn from your mistakes. And Tennessee's defense, I was in here when they beat Arizona, and Arizona is Final Four good. Tennessee, when they're making shots, they can beat anyone in college basketball.
Damian Collins is in. One of the officials said on that shot that Wheeler threw up, it didn't hit the rim, but the shot clock reset itself, so they blew it dead. Collins had the ball on the rebound. He's into the game with Toppin, Mintz, Wheeler, and Grady.
One thing for Calipari tonight, if he wants to holler at an official, he knows exactly who they are. Because right there at the end of his bench, Coach has the pictures up of the officials right there. How about that? Doug Shows and Patrick Evans and Michael Roberts. And as a coach, you want to be able to call the official by the name. And John Calipari with a little bit of a cheat sheet. And nothing wrong with that. It's how I got through algebra. But this is a guy that on top of every little part of the game.
Wait a minute. You got through algebra using a cheat sheet?
It took in the third year, yes. But I love that by Calipari because you want to be able to say Doug, Patrick, Michael.
And he does. And he does. By the way, so does Coach Barnes. If you watch the officials while the ball is sort of down one end and they're dribbling, the coaches are working the officials. They got hand motions, body language, using their own voice.
Ravi, the officials, no one cares more about the game than those guys in the striped shirts. And they have done a really good job over the years of doing what the rule book has told them to do. They are to officiate the game as the rule book is written. Our fouls right now, over the last 3 years, they've gone from 17.5 per game. Right now, we're right about 16.7. So we're staying consistent. The game has been cleaned up, and the scoring has gone up as well.
All right, they got 4 seconds to get a shot off. They haven't had a field goal in 10:27. Grady, short. And that drought continues. Vescovi, that's out of bounds. It'll stick with Tennessee.
Baseline out of bounds plays for Kentucky, especially with a short clock. It's all about Kellen Grady. All the action is for him to be a screener and then come off of a screen.
Kentucky doesn't take a lot of threes, and tonight they're 1 of 5 from three-point land. Tennessee's made 15 field goals. Kentucky's made 8 in the first half, Jimmy.
Ravi, what does Kentucky do? They get the ball at the rim. They are #1 in the nation, Kentucky, shooting 73% at the rim. Can they get it there enough tonight?
Vescovi through traffic. nearly double dribbled. It ended up in the hands of Plavsic. Adu. Adu is going to be a force, isn't he? He is a tall guy and is a rim protector and goes after the rebound. There is the drought ender. Davion Mintz, the veteran, knocks down a three.
Ravi, you can't lose Mintz or Grady in Kentucky's conversion offense. A little bit of a secondary break there. They got the ball at the baseline, then to kick out the Mintz in the wing slot.
They went just short of 11 minutes without a field goal. More than half the half. Ziegler cuts. He tried to dump it off to Plavsic, and good hands that time by Kentucky. Wheeler sees Brooks. Collins. Boy, that's not a shot that Kentucky wanted Damian Collins to take.
No, that's the shot Tennessee wanted Kentucky to take.
That's right. 12-point lead in all Tennessee in this first half.
Oh, the game just looks different, doesn't it, when Oscar Tshiebwe's not on the floor?
100%. Vescovi, quick release. Got it! Santiago Vescovi knocks down another three. Tennessee's been terrific from deep, 6 of 11.
Ravi, and he was being guarded by a shooter. And shooters should understand how fast you have to be there on the catch and how you have to caboose, chase, and always be attached. Always.
Back to a 15-point lead for the Vols. Brooks contested. Ooh. Gets one off the window. They don't practice that, even though the last two from Collins and Brooks have gone off the backboard. Vescovi cutting.
Got him.
No, he's missed layups twice now tonight. And now 5-on-3 for Kentucky.
And he has been, Vescovi, so good as a rim finisher for a 6'3" guard all year long.
Wheeler, rare to his right, wide open Mintz. That's no good, and there's no blue shirts, including Tshiebwe, who's on the bench, to try to grab a rebound.
Tennessee got lucky. There was no hammer action or anything on the backside, no screen, just a spotted up shooter.
Vescovi's got 8 of the last 10 points for Tennessee. Well, you got him open, and that's good hands again by Collins. A little late look for Vescovi. He had him. And the bounce pass to Plavsic a tick late. Tennessee is going to call a timeout. We'll take a 30-second timeout. Volunteers up 42, 29, 45 and a half. And our halftime report coming up. Are certainly brands, and you can see, of course, Pat Summitt got a statue outside of Thompson Bowling Arena. Right off that inbounds, Vescovi knocks down a 2. Santiago Vescovi is having a terrific first half. He's got 14. Chandler has 13. They've nearly outscored Kentucky, the two of them. Grady, wide open 3, needed it, and he got it. They left him wide open.
Ravi, how can that happen? First of all, how can Vescovi come off clean on that baseline out of bounds under, and then how can you let Grady just spot up and knock one down? Tennessee with 2 7-footers basically on the floor.
10 seconds to go in the first half.
So an offensive rebound should come into play if there's a miss.
Chandler raked there by Grady. That's going to be a foul on Kellen Grady. 7th foul against Kentucky. Grady's first. Anthony Chandler after his 14th point of the night. They've been really good with their free throws. They've only taken 4, but they've made them all.
Ravi, the first 4 times I watched Tennessee play this year, I told Rick Barnes after every shoot around, Kennedy Chandler did not say a word. And Rick Barnes has really grown his voice with Kennedy Chandler, and now it's starting to be returned.
Yep. Vescovi and Chandler, 28 of their 32. Kentucky will have 5.8 to get it from one end to the other and try to get a bucket. Wheeler pushes, Grady fires it up. That's off the backboard and no good. And it wasn't a perfect hat for Tennessee, but it was pretty darn close. And off of that beatdown in their first meeting, Tennessee had an answer. Marty is with Rick Barnes.
Thank you, Ravi. Coach, you guys held Kentucky without a field goal for nearly 11 minutes, and you guys shot better than 55% from the field. How would you describe the first half?
Well, up there, we shot over 50% for the game, and I just feel like if we can run our offense, we'll get good looks. Defensively, we weren't very good there. We were better here today, but we need to make some layups. We've had 3 or 4 of them at the rim. We need to make those, but long way to go. They're going to make a run. They always do. We just got to come back and be locked in, again, more so on the defensive end and make sure we execute offense.
What will be your message to them in there?
We got 20 more minutes. We didn't come to play 20. We got to play 40 minutes. You're going to have to play 40 minutes to beat Kentucky.
Thank you, Coach. Okay. Appreciate it. Ravi?
Built great programs at Providence, Clemson, Texas, and now Tennessee. And they were awfully impressive against the top 4 team. Kennedy Chandler, 15 points. Santiago Vescovi, 14 points. Tennessee, 46. They lead by 14. We'll send to the studio Kevin Negandhi, LaFonso Ellis, and Seth Greenberg. Welcome back, everyone, to Super Tuesday. It is presented by Progressive. And the Sonic blockbuster between Tennessee and Kentucky has been all volunteers. 46-32, they lead it. They kept Grady, they kept Tshiebwe, and they kept Washington in check. 4 ties, 3 lead changes, first 7 minutes, and then Tennessee just took off. And it did feel a lot like the first meeting, but the other team was winning.
Yeah, well, if you're Tennessee, you didn't need anything extra to get you ready for this ball game. And I think the little scrum at the end of the bench really ignited Tennessee. And Rick Barnes settled his guys down, but you cannot back down when a play like this escalates in the first few minutes of ball game. This is an intense rivalry, and remember, Tennessee got punked by 28 in Rupp. You knew Tennessee was going to have the fight factor at a high level tonight. So far, so good. Tennessee has moved the ball really well, Ravi. They've had 13 assists on their 17 makes. If you're Kentucky, you got the wrong guys taking shots. Brooks and Wheeler have taken 10 of Kentucky's 30 shots. That has to change.
All right, so let's just go back to that. If that was the jumping off point, the turning point of the season, just look at the difference between what happened January 15th and tonight. And it is telling. Now, can they keep that up for the next 20 minutes? Tshiebwe's likely to play a lot more. He got 11 minutes in the first half. He ended up with 8 points and 6 rebounds. Let's get a thought from Marty.
Guys, I just talked to John Calipari as he exited the Kentucky locker room, and I asked him what his message was to his team. This is what he said. You're about to see an unbelievable comeback, and the whole world will see how good we are if you're willing to fight. Fight through screens, fight for rebounds, fight for your spot. If you're willing to fight for it all, we're going to stage an unbelievable comeback. How about that?
Yeah, I like that message. Underway with the second half of our Sonic blockbuster matchup.
Sometimes as a coach, you speak it into action. That's exactly what John Calipari is trying to do with his guys. We'll know a lot the first 3 or 4 minutes.
Air ball, Plavcic, rebound offensive, and that could not be put back in by Huntley Hatfield.
Ravi, I think that's the 5th or 6th shot that Tennessee has missed right at the rim.
Wheeler went to his left, and a good job by Chandler. Tennessee's defense with their feet, and now their hands have been terrific. And one of the leading steal guys in the country. Ooh, Grady got called for the foul. It appeared as if he hit the ball, but foul on Kellen Grady.
Ravi, and Ty Washington, he got hit in the face, so that left leg is bothering him again, but he didn't even make it to the other end of the floor. Sitting down now to our right.
It was behind the play, so we'll take a look at what led to Ty Washington's issues. There was a game time decision label put on both he and Toppin earlier today. It was quite clear in the first half he didn't have that explosiveness. And there's an example of his frustration. As you know, anytime an athlete has their legs or their arms, depending on what they do, go, that's the reaction you're going to get.
Well, especially when you're an explosive athlete like Ty is. And as this ball gets driven, this looked like a little bit of an awkward step at the end of the drive. But to Cal's point, we've got some adversity. Are we going to fight through it right now with 19-12 to go?
It appears they're going to have to fight through it without one of their better players in Ty Washington. So where do the points come from? Mintz is a good shooter.
Well, Oscar Tshiebwe has to be Oscar, and Grady's got to get loose a little bit.
Well, Mintz got loose and a high arcing three in and out and an easy rebound. No effort from Brooks or Shibwe with the box out. They got big bodies. They're doing a good job keeping those guys off the boards.
Yeah, Plavsic a very physical box off on Oscar.
James, no good. Shibwe tips it to himself. Wheeler the pull up. That's good. Xavier Wheeler a 2. Yeah, Barnes' point about that first game, that first matchup, we scored a lot. We shot over 50%. Our offense was fine. It was the defense, and the defense has been dynamite tonight. On the shot clock. Vescovi. Chance to cut it down to 10 with a 3. Shibwe lost it. Good hands by Plavsic to take it away.
I think you have to put Shibwe in the crowd when he catches that ball. He's shooting 55% in single coverage. Kentucky drops to 45% when Shibwe is double teamed.
7 turnovers for Kentucky.
And you've got to burn that pressure off with hard back cuts and basket cuts for Tennessee right now.
A difficult shot. Shibwe box out Plavsic. Brady may have rolled an ankle. He's slow to get back into the play as Wheeler pushes. Finds Shibwe, and we're going to get steps before. Jimmy, Saturday, full day of hoops. ESPN on the app, 6 Eastern. Paulo Banchero and Duke, who survived tonight. They beat Wake by a couple. Coach K wasn't feeling well. We didn't see him in the second half. And then Kansas, West Virginia. And then at 10 o'clock, number 3, Arizona hosting Oregon in our West Coast primetime game. Big day of hoops and night. We got for you on ESPN on the app. We're going to get Jimmy's jet out of the hangar, and we're going to go national in just a little bit. See if Arizona's got a seat up near first class.
Well, I can tell you they do. Arizona's one of 2 teams in the country with Gonzaga. Top 10 offense and defense. And again, Fulke, middle of the floor. You give him space, he's going to win the battle.
15 points, the 8th turnover. And they're still up by 15, which matches their largest lead.
Very unusual to find a team that can take advantage of a matchup against Shibwe, and Tennessee has done it in this game with Fulke.
Fulkerson given that foot to 2 feet. He starts getting into that lane, spinning, throwing it up like that. And it goes in. John Fulkerson, 8 points tonight.
Just stay in the middle third of the floor if you're Fulke right now. Causing all kinds of problems for Oscar Shibwe, who already is battling foul trouble.
The greatest comeback is in a little trouble now, down 17. Mintz forces it up, gets it to go. Tough shot, even with the help of Fulkerson. They're going to need some stops, though, and they haven't been able to get any. Kentucky.
To Cal's point, you have to fight for your spot in the second half, and Mintz just fought for his spot, playing off of 2 feet. Really well done.
Powell into the game. We haven't seen Ziegler. Chandler. James the pull-up. No good. Kept alive, but it's to Kentucky.
Now where's that 6-8-0 burst that Kentucky needs and they're very capable of having?
Mintz, look out. Davion Mintz. Good start to the second half.
That Kentucky's run game is right there with the 2009 North Carolina team with Tyler Hansbrough and Ty Lawson. They are that good and that lethal. So that 6-8-0 run I talked about is always on the table when you're playing Kentucky.
Ziegler, who we just talked about, is now at the scorer's table and set to come in. He did provide a big spark in that first half when he came in. Also picked up a technical. Mintz face guarding Vescovi. 2 on the shot clock, and he's got a launch, and he didn't get the iron. The momentum shift here with Mintz scoring. Tennessee unable to get it going. 14:50 to go. 51-39.
I wanted to do was make him proud, so I played harder for him. I wanted to honor him then, and I want to honor him now. And, Jimmy, I know you had a great relationship with Coach Tubby Smith, who had a similar impact at Kentucky.
Yeah, Marty, absolutely he did. And the pressure that Tubby felt with that job was magnified because of being the first black head coach at Kentucky. I remember talking with Tubby. When I was on staff, Eddie Sutton used to always say, being the head coach of Kentucky is the best job and the worst job all on the same day because of the pressure you feel. And now how good was Tubby holding up with all the pressure that he had in that as the head Wildcat?
Wheeler finally got the ball to Shibwe, and then it was Jacob Toppin off that Powell block to put it back in. It's a 10-point game now after Tennessee had led by 15, and the Vols are 2 of 9 here in the second half. Contact out top, Powell's shot no good, and here comes the Wildcat. Chance to cut it to 8 or 7.
It just feels like the presence of Shibwe
Wide
to
open
take over in this game.
Had it blocked out of bounds. Twice now, Oscar Shibwe's had shots blocked at the rim.
Ravi, his speed, though, is uncommon. There's not a post player in the country that can beat Shibwe rim to rim. There's not one.
Without any official word from Kentucky, it feels like Ty Washington is likely not to come back.
Fulkerson on Shibwe. Will that demand a double team if there's a touch?
Wow, Wheeler all the way around Powell, and then the reverse layup. And just like that, they're back within 8 points.
Wheeler's so good at finding his left hand at the end of drives. He can get there from either side of the rim.
Tennessee's gone into a 2-minute and 50-second scoring drought. James 3. That's no good. Shibwe grabbed the rebound and ripped it away from Fulkerson.
And Ravi, Tennessee fans know that their team is also capable of going 6 or 7 minutes without a make.
Boy, Wheeler
A lot of contact.
smacked down, and he's slow to get back up. There was no foul called. Vescovy, and there will be a foul called on the floor here.
It just felt like.
And they call that on Oscar Shibwe. That's his third.
Did it not feel like there was a lot of contact on Wheeler at the other end? That's a huge third foul on Oscar Shibwe, but watch Wheeler.
He was a little out of control, but I assume he doesn't fall that way without the assistance of somebody else, right?
I didn't see the contact go on the replay. I think he kind of spun himself into an awkward fall.
So Oscar goes to the bench with 3. Lance Ware into the game. Just when Kentucky had a chance to get that 8-point lead even smaller, Wheeler got a little out of control. A 9-0 run in the last 3 minutes. They do the freshman in. James with the curl. Ziegler sees a hole, and a high arcing floater falls for him.
When you're small at this level, you have to have the floater game. You got to be able to guard your spot. You have to be able to make some shots from distance, but you have to have a floater game, and he does. We'll see a lot of just point switch defensively right now, not coming shoulder to shoulder, just point and switching it out.
So the 9-0 run slowed down, and James gets called with the foul on the floor against Wheeler. Josiah Jordan-James picks up his third. Kellen Grady continues to have just 3 points on 1 of 4 shooting.
He can't get loose in the half court. Can Kentucky get Grady loose off of their defense in transition? Because right now, Powell, JoJo, they're all doing a really good job when they switch out. They're switching high and hot.
5 on the shot clock. Wheeler blocked by Ziegler. Good defense. Toppin. That's another block. And that's a shot clock violation. What a job by the Tennessee defense. And Jacob Toppin is slow to get up. That 4 blocks here in the last 3 minutes.
To me, that's an example of what Josiah Jordan-James told Marty. We drew a line and we'll never go back. That defensive sequence right there. Aggressive, tough, hungry to the ball. Those are the type plays Tennessee did not have in Rupp Arena.
Tenacious defense. Tennessee has forced 5 Kentucky turnovers in this half. They had 5 the entire first half.
Tennessee gets the ball to the third side of the floor. They're so effective.
Chandler, no good. Ware the rebound.
He didn't need the shot. The ball was only gotten to the second side of the floor. Way too quick by Chandler.
kick to Wheeler. Powell this time playing good defense. Grady the floater, and there's Ware with a rebound off the miss. Wide open is Fulkerson. 2 ball fakes, and now he kicks it to Chandler, who gets it back, and they're going to get a foul on Xavier Wheeler. Game has gotten tight, 8 points. Wheeler picks up his second. Zakai Ziegler waiting. He knew the Jet was coming. See his look?
That's another way to get to Chattanooga. My Jet national version as of right now, Gonzaga, Purdue, Auburn, and Kentucky will be in first class. Those would be my 1 seeds. Right behind him, waiting for a misstep. Arizona, Duke, Kansas, and Baylor. Providence is going to figure into that as well. But those are the 8, 9 teams right now that you have to keep an eye on, that I have no problem putting on the Jet, letting him set in first class and saying, don't store your luggage yet.
Right.
A little time to go, but you're in really good shape right now on February 15th.
It's a misstep, like when you just show up to the airport late, your car didn't have gas, or you left it running, or you overslept.
Forgot your sport coat.
Your sport coat.
Wearing Zakai Ziegler's sport coat in the open because I forgot mine.
There you go. Offensive rebound. I'm telling you, Jimmy, it feels like Jonas Aidoo is going to be a big player at some point for Tennessee in the coming years. Big frame, huge wingspan. In fact, the longest on the team, and he picks up an offensive rebound. They're 6 tonight.
Yeah, Aidoo says, I do. In terms of let me get in, coach, and use my 7 foot and my instincts really well.
Mintz drives, floater, no good, and a good battle that time by Aidoo and Ware. Ziegler tried to kick it there, and there were a lot of hands to get it through.
In Kentucky's huddle, John Calipari just told his Wildcats, guys, we're good. Keep fighting. Keep defending. Look for Kentucky to switch more at the elbow on Vescovi, especially with Jacob Toppin. He said, offensively, we're getting better dribble drives on offense. That means we're also getting more kickouts for threes. Keep pushing it.
Well, before the ball was inbounded, Toppin and Fulkerson got tangled up. Toppin was pleading his case that it was Fulkerson who grabbed him. Look out. Fulkerson, I should say Vescovi, just got blown up by Fulkerson and Toppin.
Cal telling his guys to get more dribble drive, more downhill.
Oh, Zakai Ziegler, a 3 right in the face of Kellen Grady.
Everything he does is based upon his guts. The size of his Valentine, and the day after Valentine's Day, there's none bigger in this league.
Toppin was open, the alley-oop hit the front of the rim. Mintz, that's too strong, and Aidoo is playing really well.
Tennessee doing as good a job as you can, battling Oscar Tshiebwe on the boards, not letting him dominate this game on the glass.
And Mintz, they're being very, very tight with the calls on the floor.
Riley Fulkerson's been really good in this ball game. 17 minutes. He has been tremendous, driving that space that Tshiebwe continues to give him by backing off. And that time Tshiebwe gets too aggressive, and the speed and the quickness has caused 34 and blue a lot of trouble in this game in the middle third of the floor. Expect Rick Barnes to go back to that another 2 or 3 times.
John Calipari has decided to bring Dante Allen into the game. He hasn't played in the last 3. But when you looked at the guys on the floor with no Washington out there, you wondered, and if Grady's going to be defended the way he is, where are the points going to come from? Allen's a good shooter. He's into the game now.
Well, he has gravity ability, just like Kellen Grady does. And that downhill drive that Cal wants needs some space to operate.
That's good on the baseline. Chandler, good dish inside. Fulkerson, he gets fouled. It's going to be on Dante Allen. Just into the game. 6 fouls against Kentucky, only 1 against Tennessee. Wednesday night, men's basketball double dip on the SEC Network 7. Georgia against Darius Days, Tari Eason, and LSU, who are starting to get healthy again. You wonder, can they put it together again? And then Jabari Smith and number 2 Auburn hosting Vandy. You can always watch these games on the ESPN app. Free throw good from Fulkerson. ESPN app. Free throw good from Fulkerson. It was 51-43 when Wheeler drove to the basket out of control. There was no foul. And look what happened since then. That game could have got a lot. This game could have got a lot closer. The lead is 14. That's the look that we've seen on Ty Washington since he's came out of this game early in the second half. Re-aggravated, appeared, that left leg injury of his.
Gravy, there's two teams in the SEC that are national championship legit contenders. It's Kentucky and Auburn.
Oh, Ziegler with a pick.
And this Tennessee team they could certainly get to an Elite Eight.
Adu picks up the foul. Zakai Ziegler instigated that. You made the point. You know, look, everything he does is an exclamation point.
Well, there's no fear in Ziegler whatsoever. And he is electric with his foot speed and his hand speed around the ball. And he and Kennedy Chandler, they get 3 or 4 steals per game, just on ball, take it and run. Those two freshmen right there, classic, hard to guard.
Jimmy, I heard you on Auburn and Kentucky, but the Tennessee Volunteers believe they have the potential to win a national championship too. Kennedy Chandler told me Tennessee is one team with no individual goals. We're as a unit willing to do anything possible to win games. And Josiah Jordan-James added, the balls are clicking when they're the best. When they're clicking, they're one of the best teams in the country. And cited that 4-point victory over Arizona that you mentioned earlier that happened just before Christmas. He said we can play with anybody in the country, so we know our ceiling is right up there with the best teams.
Grady. That's a walk. That is. And they call it. They call the travel. The referee was blocked by Grady's body. Went up for the shot, then he put the ball on the ground, so he gets called for the travel. Santiago Vescovi is doing a tremendous job defending Grady one-on-one.
Shooters know how to guard shooters. And Vescovi he's not shortcutting anything. He's staying right on his back numbers and not getting picked off by the action.
And Wheeler just ran into a 4% screen, and that's caused all sorts of problems. Screens for Wheeler this year. Chandler spinning, dishing to Vescovi, the reverse. And great movement by Vescovi on that Chandler penetration. Timeout Kentucky. 51-43. Kentucky scored 2 points since then. Tennessee has scored 12. They're all on the floor, and they are starting a celebration with 8.5 to go, trying to knock off the 4 team in the country.
Check out our assist of the game, brought to you by State Farm. If you're going to have an assist, you also have to have a cutter. Watch Vescovi right here. Instead of just standing and watching the action, as that ball gets driven to the paint, Vescovi goes to the corner, then boom, makes a hard corner cut. The timing of the cut, Rabbi, is so important. You cut late, the opening's not there. You cut too early, you bury yourself under the rim.
And Sheboy was flat-footed.
Yeah, and a really good job. But Tennessee, you load up to the ball against them defensively. They find those backside cuts as well as anybody in this league.
That first game, Kentucky shot 68% for the game. They're shooting 36% tonight. They've made 1 of their last 9. Tennessee's been on a 10-0 run. And again, we went to the first outbreak saying they're not perfect tonight, but they're pretty darn close. They're pretty darn close again in the second half.
It's such a big deal if you're Tennessee. You have held Sheboy to 9 rebounds in this game and 8 points. Well below that 15 and 15 average.
Vescovi ended up on the ground. He kind of looked up at Doug Shouse, who refused to acknowledge anything about that other than you fouled him.
Rev, I mentioned Oscar Sheboy averaging 15 and 15. If that continues, be the first time in 42 years that we've had someone average 15 points and 15 boards. The last guy to do it, Larry Smith at Alcorn State, who they called Mr. Mean. But that's the year that this kid's having. To me, there's separation between him and the rest of the field in that National Player of the Year race.
And the other great part about what Vescovi's done defensively tonight against Grady, that was his first foul. This time, Grady got free, threw it up, and can't get it to go. And look at the box out. Vescovi on Keon Brooks.
Your guards have to get involved in the fight. And to your point, Tennessee only 2 team fouls in this half.
Ziegler a little too strong, almost too wide open there. Kentucky's got to run. It's got to start pretty soon, and Mintz is short. I think the play of Jonas Adu tonight has also been noteworthy. Getting a lot of minutes, and that's just a guy who's 3 inches taller than Sheboy.
Tennessee using their own smash action against That full court pressure of Kentucky. I'm with you on Adu. That's a real body now for a freshman.
Deion Brooks to the free throw line. That's no good. Tshiebwe, a rebound. That's no good. He gets another one blocked. And it was Adu with the block.
Tshiebwe has struggled with length at times, and he is a phenomenal player. But Rick Barnes staying with those 2 7-footers and Plavsic in this game.
7th block for Tennessee. Fulkerson just got run over by Wheeler. And we will take a timeout. 18-point cushion.
I'll say it again. When you get thumped by 28 points and you have a chance to fix it a month later, you take advantage of it.
And they are. In a big way. Exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. Jimmy, all ready for Feast Week like Thanksgiving? I mean, I know we have the rest of winter, spring, summer.
I'm always ready for Feast Week. What a big announcement this week we've had about the Phil Knight legacy. Man, just look at the teams that are loaded up in the men's and the women's bracket up there. I know our boss David Seisler up there this week meeting with those Phil Knight tournament group, and that will be a big time.
Both men's and women's.
Yes.
Alabama, Michigan State, Carolina, Oregon, Iowa State, UConn, Portland, Villanova.
Maybe Tennessee has been so clean. Yeah. So clean offensively. Only 5 turnovers, remember. Kentucky had 31 points off the Tennessee turnovers at Rupp. Not tonight.
Fulkerson on Tshiebwe. Vescovi on Grady, and they get Ziegler out top on Wheeler. That's his 2nd foul. Certainly one of the stories for Kentucky tonight. And moving forward, you have to have in the back of your mind, is that guy going to be okay?
Yeah, that is one worried look by a 19-year-old kid on that Kentucky bench. If Kentucky's healthy, they can win it all. The Ty has to be 100%.
Jacob Toppin throws it up and in. That will count. And a foul on Fulkerson.
Ravi, we were there when McKissick dives for the loose ball and ends up diving right into Ty's leg. And there tonight, just a little bit of an awkward step. You knew he wasn't going to be 100%, but the frustration is right before our eyes. And we talked about it last week. You want to win a national championship, you got to be hot, you got to be healthy, and you got to be hungry. All 3 of them at the same time.
Jimmy, that foul was on James, not on Fulkerson. So Josiah goes to the bench. He's got 4. Kentucky with a little press.
Rick Barnes can grind this thing away right now with 6 minutes to go. What bad pass.
Fulkerson got stuck up in the air, and now Mintz. Finds Toppin, great hands, Fulkerson. Boy, he almost looks at his coach and said, look, I made a mistake down one end. I redeemed myself, did I not?
I cannot say enough about Tennessee's transition defense in this game. Even when they get cross-matched and they're not guarding their natural position, they have been on point.
Tennessee's got forced 13 Kentucky turnovers, I should say. Now they're milking the clock a little bit. Ziegler with 5. 3 ball. Got it! Zakai Ziegler makes it a 20-point game for Tennessee. This is payback.
That kid will go down as one of the all-time greats to wear a Tennessee uniform in the eyes of the Tennessee nation. As well he should. That's what he's tracking.
Adu bothered Tshiebwe again. First meeting, 28-point win for Kentucky. This meeting, Tennessee by 20. Fulkerson spins. Tshiebwe with a block. And and that's going to be a foul on Fulkerson.
Zakai Ziegler with 12 points in 24 minutes, and he has been outstanding. He sets the tone, controls the vibe of this Tennessee team. As young as he is, his voice, his heart, his toughness just fuels this Tennessee attack. His speed is uncommon. And this is a small kid that just knows how to get it done. He plays below the defense. He can sidestep you, dance you a little bit into his jump shot, but absolutely no fear from day one on this campus. Double Z.
Fulkerson picks up his third. He's played more SEC games than anybody in the history of the conference. Tshiebwe deep, block there. Adu, oh my goodness. And that time he picks up the foul. Adu has done so many things well there. A three-point play for Tshiebwe.
Tennessee loses their starting five guy for the year, and Olivier Nkamhoua. So what does it do? It opens up another opportunity. And what Tennessee needed when Nkamhoua went out was someone to step up, and it has been Adu in this ball game.
7 rebounds, 3 blocks for Adu. Tshiebwe knocks it down. Here's Olivier Nkamhoua, who's gone for the year. Get that bike there to keep that knee elevated. And a timeout with the Vols up 68-51. Think about it, the Vols, assuming they hang on here, got a chance to knock off both Kentucky and Auburn over the last couple of weeks of the season. Florida State Duke, Saturday 6 p.m. Eastern time, part of our Saturday showcase. It continues a little later with the Jayhawks at number 6 against West Virginia. The Mountaineers, tough year this year, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and then we'll cap it. Terry Francona, the manager of the Cleveland Guardians, checks in and says, make sure you give Arizona a lot of love. He, of course, big Wildcat supporter. You got him on your plane, man.
They're really good. I saw them lose in this building right before Christmas. And again, they're one of the only 2 teams in the country right now, Ravi, them and Gonzaga. They're in the top 10 in both offensive and defensive efficiencies. Arizona is that good. And I talked about how I think Kentucky and Auburn are both national championship legit contenders out of this league. I said Tennessee, to me, they're Elite 8 good, which means they're 1 win away from being Final Four themselves. They can have some scoring droughts. They're coming fewer and fewer right now in that Tennessee lineup, but you've got some power wins over Arizona and what's 4 minutes and 33 away from beating Kentucky. Those are the number 1 seeds right now, according to Joe Lunardi.
Tennessee, Tennessee is, very likely going to win this game, and then they have Auburn coming to town.
Yes, so when you have a great chance, have already knocked off 2 number 1 seeds with Kentucky and Arizona. Now Auburn coming in. This is a Tennessee team that has depth, but more important, they have a personality and know who they are, and it's led by Zakai Ziegler.
Ziegler was not an afterthought, but certainly overshadowed by Chandler and everything that he brought to the table. Formidable 1-2 punch, and they get some experience with Vescovi and Fulkerson. Adu is getting a ton of minutes for Rick Barnes tonight. 5 on the shot clock. Ziegler bounces one and is picked off by Tshiebwe. Grady open for a 3. That's good.
Live ball turnover. That's only the 7th turnover of the game for Tennessee.
Calipari quick to call a timeout after Grady knocked down a rare 3 tonight. We'll take a timeout. 68-54. 4 to go. 14-point game. Grady has 6.
Ravi, the point guard spot under Rick Barnes. You got to be a tough customer, and Ziegler is. He has been tremendous in this ball game, knocking down what looked like a dagger 3 a couple of minutes ago, but then he makes a mistake and over-penetrates, and just hope is not a plan. That was a hopeful pass, and Kentucky comes right back and sticks a 3 to cut this thing to 14. And Ziegler walks right over to the timeout, and Rick Barnes is lighting his young point guard up. But Zakai Ziegler is one of those guys that looks you in the eye and says, yes, sir, I understand, and comes right back to battle another play, the next play. You have to have that resiliency and that toughness if you're going to play point guard for that guy right there.
Feeling is Ziegler will be back next year. Chandler won't.
That's a foul. Good job by Ziegler. Just a crafty kid, man. Gets in front of him, slams on the brakes, and forces the contact. from Wheeler from behind.
Wheeler grabbing that right wrist of his. He's picked up his 4th foul.
Ravi, to your point, Ziegler is going to be a 4-year guy here. Yeah, that's what a rock-solid kid is, understanding you get in front of the defender, slow down just enough. He understands all the small parts of the game for a pressuring point guard.
13 points, 4 assists. Awfully impressive performance by Tennessee tonight in front of this home crowd, none of whom have left. And many have spent the most of the game on their feet. Look out. High-flying Jacob Toppin with a baseline flush.
One of the few times that Kentucky has made a play out of that dunker spot in this ball game, and they live out of the dunker spot.
Ziegler scored 10 of his 14 in this second half. Grady was involved there with a shove of a Fulkerson. He's down on the ground. So we'll get another whistle. And Tennessee goes back to the free throw line. Both Toppin and Grady getting spoken to. SVP do the talking in just a little bit. Top 25 highlights and the reaction. Lucas in Miami. Celtics 76ers clash. James Harden and Ben Simmons both speak up. Doesn't feel like we're going to see either of them very quickly on the court, but they were both speaking today. That's SVP. It's presented by Lexus, and it comes up next. Double bonus. Fulkerson knocks that down.
Ravi, there was a different intensity today by Rick Barnes in the shoot-around. And normally on game day, he's as comfortable, confident, very engaging with us as much as any coach in this league. And he was that again today, but man, when practice started, he was all in on this preparation.
16-point lead, double bonus situation, 3.5 to go. Toppin, no good. Tshiebwe grips a rebound. That's his 15th rebound. He may have gotten away with a walk. Wheeler looking for a window. Had that knocked out of bounds by Zakai Ziegler off of Wheeler. Give me 14 turnovers for Kentucky.
And only 7 for Tennessee. That's the ball game right there. That 3-guard lineup that Rick Barnes is going to use to close this game out with, the 2 freshmen in Vescovy. And they can salt things away. They're tremendous at the free throw line. They don't turn that thing over, and it's hard to pressure him right now, you know?
Yeah, and Calipari sat back down. I agree with Marty and Rick Barnes. They should believe they have a chance to win the whole thing. The performance they had tonight. Toppin flies into the middle. That's no good. Loose ball. Tennessee's. More time off the clock. And here comes the crowd to its feet.
Well, Tennessee just continues to screen with a purpose, Ravi. They seek out blue jerseys, and they hold their spot, man. They are high contact with their off-ball screening in a legal way.
Yeah. There's a great note in the Tennessee game notes from Tom Koviak. I don't know if you saw it. So there are 5 active coaches that have developed an NBA MVP. 2 of them are on the floor. The third one's in the SEC. So you got Cal with Rose, Barnes with Durant, and Ben Howland with Russell Westbrook. The other 2 are McKillop with Curry, and then Herb Sendek with James Harden. Those are the only active coaches that have developed an NBA MVP. 3 of them are in this conference, and none of them coach their guys in the conference.
Well, and coaches have a lot to do with that, Ravi. These are 2 guys that are huge on player development. And you come into Cal practice or Rick Barnes practice, they are hard on their best player as much as anyone. And that's the only way you can honestly coach a team, is to hard coach your best guy. He did it with Grant Williams. Calipari did it with Anthony Davis, John Wall, all on down the line. And that's where that development takes place. And these 2 guys are as good as anybody in college ball.
Along those lines with those NBA MVPs and potential Hall of Famers. We want to give a special shout out to our Hall of Famer, Dick Vitale. Had his vocal cord surgery today in Boston. And according to all reports, including communicating with Dick today via text, the doctor accomplished exactly what they wanted. He's got 4 more weeks of voice rest. And let's hope that he heals quickly and safely, and we'll hear his voice again very soon. He's been active on social media. Sorry due to discomfort, though. I'll be limited. Love all of you that have sent him prayers. A 3-hour surgery. Dr. Zeitels in Boston was tough, but got what he needed against the dysplasia and ulcerated lesions. He's got to do 4 weeks of voice rest. The other person, and there have been many, but the other guy that has certainly been in his life daily is the guy that's also coached the MVP and Kevin Durant, and that's Rick Barnes, who sends him a message every single day.
Yeah, no, every single day.
Yeah.
Even on game day, Rick Barnes texts out a couple of paragraphs prayer for Dick Vitale, and I know Coach really appreciates it. Think about this ball game, Ravi, right now. The last time these two teams met, Kentucky hung 107. 107 on Tennessee. Right now, they're at 59. That's the changes that Tennessee has made within their own belief, within their own confidence, and within their own commitment to the defensive end of the floor. And it all starts with that vibe of number 5. But this Tennessee team defensively tonight has been no joke.
No. Think about some of the numbers that some of these Kentucky players usually, you can count on them for double-digit scoring, multiple three-pointers. Certainly Grady jumps off the page at you. Escovy got the elbows up high, but that's because he was being fouled. They get Jacob Toppin with the foul. Let's just go back to it. We've talked about this story, but go back to that January 15th game, to Jimmy's point, where they beat him by 28. They're up 13. They allowed a 68% field goal shooting for the game. Tonight, 35%. Obviously, the 20 turnovers tonight, they've done a good job handling the ball, and it's Kentucky with 14 turnovers. And, Kentucky, because of the turnovers, ran them over. Well, tonight, it's Tennessee winning the fast break point battle. 2 very different games.
Tennessee only 7 turnovers in this game.
Yeah.
Kentucky's run game could never get out of the starting blocks. I mean, not one time.
They've only had 2 turnovers, Tennessee, this entire half. Last 90 seconds of a Tennessee thumping. Oh.
Probably as good of a defensive performance that Rick Barnes has had this year. He has not put a bad defender or a weak defender in this ball game. They have just clamped down a really good offensive team on their home floor tonight.
3rd foul on Davion Mintz. The score of the game and the time on the clock has not influenced the officials from blowing the whistle when there's contact. Doesn't get any easier for Kentucky now. Their next 4 games, or next 3 after tonight: Alabama, LSU, at Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Florida. So there are certainly, if LSU's playing well and Alabama is on, and you go to Arkansas, we've seen what they can do to Auburn. That's not going to be an easy ride here, and we'll again have to see where Washington's injury is.
Well, this has been all Tennessee tonight. Yeah. And what they did to Kellen Grady and how they defended at all 5 positions. They were physical and fought Oscar Tshiebwe, although he's going to have decent numbers. Nothing came easy for Big Blue in Knoxville tonight.
And I'll say this too, and I think people at home would recognize the shots that they've taken here, they haven't been close. A lot of backboard hitting. And that's about it. Steal in the corner. Tshiebwe, watch out, Fulkerson is there, and wisely just let him go in for the dunk.
But Ravi, when you're a legit team, and Tennessee is, and they can go as far as anybody, and you get smoked by 28 points and you get embarrassed, and there's a collective effort from the coaching staff on down. They got it put on them in Rupp Arena. They have been talking about it for 4 weeks now. We got another shot at Kentucky. It's not what you say, it's what you do. And Tennessee did it tonight.
Well, if they hold on, which it certainly appears with 30 seconds left, they will. It'll be their first win against the top 5 since 2019. Their 8th straight win against the SEC opponent. Barnes continues great success against Kentucky. He'll move to 9-7 against the Wildcats as a Tennessee coach, and they have beaten them each of the last 7 seasons. At least once.
This will be now the 76th win for Tennessee against Kentucky, and that's the most of any program out there in this league. A bitter rivalry that very well see again in Tampa, which will be an unbelievable conference tournament.
Just look at some of the numbers, Jimmy. Kentucky was held to 31% shooting. Tennessee shot 47%, and they were over 50%, well, right at 50% from three-point land. They took 11 more free throws. That'll cut down to 9 after these two.
And Rabbi, I was impressed Tennessee was not too emotional for this game. I mean, if you're too emotional, you're exhausted at the first TV timeout, and Tennessee's energy has been consistently high for 40 minutes. There's such a thing as getting beyond the magic level. I was concerned about that for Rick Barnes and his guys coming in. They were not. They were fantastic in that area.
It'll be the first time in the last 5-6 meetings now that the team that won the rebound battle, Kentucky tonight, didn't win the game. Awfully impressive performance for Rick Barnes and the Volunteers in front of this raucous crowd that started arriving 4 hours before the tip. They answer the call, and they do it in loud, impressive fashion. After a 28-point blowout, they win by 13, 76-63. For Jimmy Dykes, our director, Derek McRib, who's playing with some injured ribs. Our producer, Scott Matthews, and of course, Marty, with all the great interviews. I'm Carl Ravitch. Thanks again for watching. Tennessee right into the Jimmy Jet. 76-63. SVP has the rest of the day and night.